joining.
Hello, everyone. While y'all are joining, we're just letting everyone come in. Just give us a moment while we have everyone come in. I want to give it one more minute and then we're going to get started. All righty. Still coming in. 20 more seconds. Okay. All right. Well, good evening and thank you all for joining. My name is Tashia Jones and I will be your moderator for this evening's program. We have a special program for you all this evening, but let's discuss a few housekeeping rules and some things to remember for our Zoom participants. If you can, please remain on mute during the program. If you have any questions for our presenter, please feel free to unmute yourself or share your question in the chat box found at the bottom of your screen. Lastly, after this evening's program, you will receive a short survey. Please take the time and complete the survey because we would love to hear your feedback about this evening's program. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Incorporated, Queen City Metropolitan Chapter's mission is to advocate on the behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership, development, and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. Our Economic Empowerment Committee primarily focuses on financial literacy, family wealth building, and entrepreneurship through our program entitled Sister-Nomic, which is a series of interactive workshops and seminars that promote economic self-sufficiency. This year, we have created a special knowledge series, Sister-Nomic's Reaching Her S.M.A.R.T Goals, which is a 4-program series where participants will learn more about basic finances, credit, as well as investments. Participants who attend all programs will graduate with a certificate of completion. We've also selected 10 participants to be a part of our accountability program this year, where they will have a chance to win up to $1,000 in cash prizes. Okay, so let's begin. This evening's program is called Girls Just Wanna Have Fun. Yes, Girls Just Wanna Have Fun, which we will discuss reducing debt and increasing income. This is sponsored by Wells Fargo and M&D Accounting. Our facilitator for this program is Mary Nicole Douglas from M&D Accounting. Mary Nicole Douglas is an innovative entrepreneur who creates new ideas and solutions to the financial dilemmas that plague many households. She has a passion for helping others develop the competencies required for a lifetime of good financial health. An experienced professional, she has spent over 20 years addressing a variety of tax and financial issues. Mary Nicole began her accounting career at PricewaterhouseCoopers in Charlotte, North Carolina. She has also worked as a senior tax accountant for other Fortune 500 companies, including TIAA-CREF and Bank of America. Mary received her Bachelor's of Science in Accounting from North Carolina A&T State University, graduating magna cum laude. She is currently the director of Women in the Spotlight Going Global Charlotte Chapter board member. And she's also a board member for the Stiletto Boss University Youth Entrepreneurship Program. She's also a member of the National Association of Black Accountants and a member of the National Association of Tax Professionals. And now, without further ado, let's all welcome Ms. Mary Nicole Douglas.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the great introduction, Tashia. I just had this crazy technology issue, so I'm glad that I'm able to be here and talk to you and see you, and you can see me. So this has been a great program, Sister-Nomics. We are in the third session, and this week it's about debt reduction and savings. So we've been leading up to this point. So we started with going over your income and expenses to figure out what do I even have left at the end of the month, or after each check, to see what we can use for debt reduction and savings, because you have to figure out what do I even have in order to do that, right? So we started out with that. The second session, we went over credit, and you all went and got your credit reports and went over your credit reports. What's on my credit report? What are the things that I need to know my balances, and do I have things in collections? Are there things here that shouldn't be? So that we can say, okay, what is the list of debt that we're trying to reduce, right? And so this week we're going to talk about actual the debt reduction. What's our plan? How are we going to do it? And how can we save? Some people say, should I just be paying off all my debt and don't save anything? Should I put some in savings? So we'll kind of discuss all of that. If you have questions, definitely ask your questions. I'll try to remember to look down there because I try to stay focused. But this is interactive, and I want, feedback from you all. I think this has been an amazing program. This is an amazing organization. If you are not a part of it, look into becoming a part of it. I know I am, but this has just been a great opportunity for me, and I hope for you all as well. All right, next slide. All right, so what are our objectives for today? We want to increase our basic knowledge of debt repayment and different types of strategies that there are. We're going to learn how to create a debt reduction plan, learn how to create a savings plan, and learn new strategies for long-term economic empowerment, earning more money, reaching the fullest earning potential, all that kind of stuff. I know in our accountability meetings, I've been given suggestions on how can you make more money? What are the different things that you can do? And I actually sent some job came through that was virtual, and I sent it to one of the accountability members that, they might be able to do that. But of course, it's decreasing our expenses and increasing our income. So definitely want to get into that too. Next slide, please. So there's different types of repayment strategies. Now, I'm sure you've heard of some, if not all of them. I can't wait to talk about the last one because it's actually one I just learned about recently, and it's working for me. So everyone, I'm sure, has heard of the snowball method. And, there's no right or wrong way. It's what fits you, what works best for you. And you can try one. If it doesn't work, you can try another. So it's a moving target. You don't have to pick one and then be dedicated to that one if it's not working for you. A lot of it is, I tell people all the time that finances are emotional. So the snowball method helps with that because you're paying off the lowest debt first. And so if you have a lot of little debts, seeing those debts get paid off quickly, emotionally, that's going to help you. It's going to make you feel good to pay off those debts quickly, right? So you list out your debts. And then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go by smallest balance first, and that's what I'm going to pay off. So if you have a balance that's $200, one that's $500, then one that's $1,000, then one that's $10,000, it's going to make you feel better knocking off, oh, that 200 is gone, that 500 is gone, the 700 is gone, and it's kind of helping you see the progress kind of quickly. So that is one way of doing it. Now, when you do the snowball method, you are not taking into account what your interest rate is. So the pros against the snowball method is if you have an interest rate that's 29% and the one with the $200 is only 5%, you might say, I just want to get that paid off because it's $200, but how much is it costing you interest? I mean, 200 is a low amount, so that probably isn't a great example. But if you had one that was $5,000 and one that was $15,000, if the one that was $5,000 had an interest rate of 5%, and the other one had an interest rate of 29%, it's saving you money to go ahead and tackle the one with the 29% interest. And that's a real number, people. I know it sounds high and crazy, but it is a real number that people have as interest rates, unfortunately. And so the snowball method, if you have very high interest with high balances, it might not be best for you to do the small snowball method, even though it might feel better. Financially, it might not make the most sense, because when you're paying 29% interest and you're only paying the minimum payment, you're not paying anything but a portion of the interest, not even all of the interest. So it's best to really look at the situation. I like to take the emotions out when it comes to finances, because you're able to make better decisions. So it might even be you talking with someone who can kind of help you make the decisions on what really is the best way for me to pay off this debt. So then the avalanche method, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to take the highest interest first and pay that off first. So it might take you longer because they might have larger balances. However, you're definitely saving when it comes to the interest rate, because some of those high interest rates, you're not even touching the principal. You will be years and years and years paying, especially if you're only doing the minimum. Now, one of the things with these methods is, if I had a payment and my payment was, I'm paying $200 a month on a card, then my goal is, once that card is paid off, I take that $200 and I apply it to the next card. So with that 200, let's say you were paying 100 on the other card, you take that 200, add it to the 100, and now you're paying $300 a month on that card. So that is the goal. Snowball or avalanche, you're still combining what you would have. Don't pay it off, take that $200 and go spend it on something else. It still needs to be allocated towards debt. And that's how you're going to get rid of it quickly. Another thing is, let's talk about that emotional piece. It does not make sense for you to put the strategy in place, pay everything off, and then charge the cards back up. You may as well not pay it off. You have to, but you also have to get to the core of, why am I doing this? It's usually emotional, and I always suggest therapy, because you need to understand, why am I in the same position? And it's usually self-control, emotional spending. So you need to talk to someone to figure out, what is it? And then you need a plan for, when I'm having that moment, what is something else that I can do so that I'm not just spending money? Because then after you spend the money, then you still feel bad, because then you're like, oh, now I spent this money, so that feeling only lasts for a hot second and then it's gone. So you have to make the commitment to yourself. When I get out of debt, I am not coming back here. And people always want to say, well, I want to, so there are different things. Like, people always get me with the rewards. I want to use it because I want the rewards. But if you don't have enough discipline to do that, you have to get the discipline first. Because yes, if you can charge everything on your credit card and pay it in full every month, sure, go get your rewards. But if you're just going to let that balance sit there, it's not helping you. And those rewards are not dollar for dollar. I have a lot of rewards on my Amex, like 200 something thousand rewards. Do you think that is 200 something $1,000? It is not. It might be 5. It's not. It's not dollar for dollar. So you can't get wrapped up in the rewards game. You have to have a lot of discipline. And I am not against credit. I made my children at 18 years old get credit cards, and they fought me. They didn't, my son especially. I don't want a credit card. And I'm like, no, I have to teach you how to use this, because credit isn't bad, but you have to learn how to use it. And the only way you learn is to be taught. I wasn't taught as a child, so I got into debt right into college. I went to college on the yard. They're like, do you want a credit card? I'm like, I don't have a job. You don't need a job. You get an allowance. I had all these cards and no job. What do you think happened? They got in collections because I didn't have any money. So when I got out of college, I had to dig myself out. And I just did it myself. I didn't pay anybody. I did it myself. I paid the things off. I made settlements. And that was that. It was gone. And that's the same thing. If you want to pay someone to help you, you can. But you can do this yourself. And honestly, sometimes it's like you need to do it yourself. The more it hurts you to get out of it, hopefully that means you won't get back in it. I'm a feelings person, so I remember things. Like, I grew up poor. I remember that. I remember when utilities were getting cut off. Like, I remember these things. The feeling is still there. And so I tell people, remember how you feel when you had a negative balance in your bank account. Remember how you feel when your utilities are getting cut off. Like, you have to remember that feeling, because then when you want to do something like go spend and you know it's not there, you'll remember that feeling and you might not do it, right? So that's just things to think about. It's more than just paying this off. It has to be more than that, or else you're going to end up right back where you are, unfortunately. We have the fireball method. So the fireball method is a combination of both, where you can pay some based on the interest rate. You can pay some based on the snowball method. It's a hybrid. So you can decide which way you want to go with that. I really say you can, list it out both ways. If I do the avalanche method, kind of how long will it take me to get through this, but how much money will I save because I'm paying so much in interest? And really look at your statements. Really look at your statements. You should know how much you're paying in interest, and that could stop you too. So if you have like a $10,000 balance and you see every month you're paying $200 in interest, you will want to hurry up and pay that card off, because that's $200 extra every single month that you're paying. And I call it paying, you're paying backwards, right? It's something that I got that I'm still paying for, so you really want to think about that. But I would set it up both ways to see what would be the benefit to do this. If you have a lot of really little ones, then snowball might work well for you. But if you have a lot of very large ones with high interest, avalanche might work for you. And then you might decide to do a hybrid and do some of the snowball method, some of the avalanche. And then there is interest cancellation. Interest cancellation has changed my life because I really didn't understand it. So I always encourage my clients to buy a home. But I always talk to them about paying it off, especially I have a lot of clients in Buffalo, where I'm from, where I have an office there too. And houses there are a little different. It's going up now because of the real estate market, but people have mortgages that are $30,000, $50,000, amounts that we're paying for cars. And so my thing to them has been, yes, we can treat this like a car and just pay this off, But for me, even having mortgages, I could never figure out, how can I get this thing paid off quickly? So I was on Clubhouse. I go to listen to B.O.B. and it was this thing that popped up that said, pay your mortgage off in 5 years. So, everything now is kind of scammy to me. Everybody's selling something. Everybody's telling you to do something. And I'm very leery with it, because I'm like, I just can't just listen to anybody, right? So it's kind of like when somebody wants to teach you how to make $1 million, but they haven't made $1 million. I just don't know how that works. So I like to listen and take advice from people who I know have accomplished where I'm trying to go, right? It doesn't have to be the same industry. And so I listened in. I bought the guy's book and I said, I'm going to sign up for the program. Now, the program was not cheap, but everything he was saying made sense. And one of the things he said was, there are people buying cars, Lamborghinis and all these different cars that are like $150,000, $200,000. And they pay these cars off in 5 and 6 years. So if they can pay a car off in 5 or 6 years, why do we have 30-year mortgages? And I just sat there when he said that, like, that doesn't make sense. So if I have a mortgage, my first mortgage was $157,000. I still have the mortgage. When I started the program, the mortgage was $100,000. I've had that house 15 years. Doesn't make sense when you really think about it, right? So I signed up for the program. I'm starting to learn about it. And what interest cancellation is taking the amortization table, right? Because every loan has that, and looking at the interest. And you start paying the interest on your principal, and it starts knocking out the time. So it's knocking out the years because you're taking away the interest because you're paying on the principal. And it's different than just making extra principal payments, because now you're looking at the amortization table. So this is all new to me. So it's something I'm just learning, but I will tell you that I've been doing it for 3.5 months, and my mortgage went from $100,000 to $74,000 in 3.5 months. just by doing interest cancellation. And I'm sitting here, I take screenshots every time I pay on it. Like, it's crazy because it's something that we haven't learned. But start looking at your amortization tables, because that is a way of canceling out debt. And banks, a lot of times they don't they have to go get it to give it to you. They don't have it right away. And it's crazy. At the one bank for one of my mortgages, I cannot even make a principal payment online. I have to pay it like a regular payment, call them and tell them exactly how much I paid as a principal payment, and then they adjust it. Banks aren't going to tell you about this stuff because, of course, they like these 30 years. But now in my mind, I'm like, if a car can be paid off in 5 years, that's $150,000. So am I paying a certain percentage or payment on that interest? So what happens is, it's actually a system that I'm using, but it's looking at the amortization worksheet. I'm trying to keep up with all these questions. But it's not a percentage, it's an amount based on everything else that you have to pay. So I'm not selling the program now because I'm in the program. I mean, selling it as telling you about what program it is, because I'm in it. And I said that I was going to be the guinea pig before I have my clients and anybody else I know. But for now, I'm saying I'm 3.5 months in and it works. So interest cancellation is something that I want to start talking about, because even if you don't join the program, you can get your amortization table from your mortgage company and do the same thing. So it's something to think about. But I would say if you have all this other debt, interest cancellation should be last on the list, because you need to get rid of the credit card debt before you focus on the mortgage debt. But it's something that I felt like now I have a duty to make people aware that there's a way for us to get rid of these mortgages. You know, because there are some people that are in a good financial space, don't have a lot of debt, but have these mortgages. And so this is a way to be able to get rid of the mortgages. I'm definitely excited about it. I'm definitely excited about it. So these are the different strategies, and I say try them out and see what works for you. List out those debts and the interest rates. Make sure you put the interest rates. Make sure you put how much you're paying each month, because that's important too, right? Because if I have one that has a lower interest rate, but I'm paying $1,000 a month on it, I want to get rid of that quickly so I can get that $1,000 back in the budget. And I know these numbers might sound crazy to people, but I have clients who pay $1,000 on a debt every single month. I have clients that make a lot of money, but it seems as if they don't, because they make a lot of money and then they're red every month because it's a lot of debt. And cash flow it's not prejudiced to how much money you make. Debt is not prejudiced to how much money you make. I have had clients. I had a client that made $30,000 and had like $60,000 in the bank. And I can have a client that has 6 figures and have no money in the bank. So it does not matter how much you make. It matters what you do with what you make. That's a very important piece, because people always say, well, if I have more money, well, if I have more money, that's just not a true statement. If you have more money, you're just going to go get more expenses. Now, I will tell people, because when we're in accountability, there are some people at the end of the month, it was in the red. So then it becomes, what do we have to do to get you out of the red? So immediately it's looking at those expenses and saying, what are we getting rid of? What has to go now? Because you can't afford everything. And what can you do to bring in more income? And sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to get rid of things. I'm proud of people in this program. It's people in the program saying, I'm going to do my own hair. I took off my nails. Look, I don't have my nails anymore. I took off my nails. I'm really into this. And I'm really proud of the people in this program, because they're taking it seriously. Like I want change, so I'm going to do something different. If nothing changes, nothing changes. But when you're ready to take those steps and I was like, wow, when I'm saying I don't have my nails on, I'm like, oh, okay. I did my own hair. Great. Like, you have to do those things, to be able to, I need some money to pay off this debt. Where am I getting this money from? You have to take the action, and it's not easy. Sacrifice is not easy, but I will say on the other side of sacrifice is peace of mind. Peace of mind. Oh, who is that? Jewel's talking about she's a proud Aldi shopper now. I'm proud of her. I tell everybody about Aldi's. Aldi's is not how it used to be. Aldi's is good now. And it's cheap. I get vegetables from there. I don't eat meat other than seafood, so I don't get the meat from there, but they have some good stuff in the home section. Y'all don't need all that stuff, but they have good stuff in the home section, even exercise stuff. Like they have so much at Aldi's. And did you know Aldi's and Lidl are basically the same thing, owned by brothers or something like that? You know, Trader Joe's, like, so it's all these places out there. You know, Whole Foods get you in trouble. I go to Whole Foods and I'm like, what did I buy? I don't even know what I bought. I don't understand how is it $50. I have 3 things, you know? So you can bargain shop and get good things. You definitely can. Next slide. We have a poll question. Bella, where are you? Okay. What is an example of a personal budget? So you guys pick what you think it is. Where do I see? Am I going to see how it pops up, the answers? All right, Sherelle, cooking at home. I'm proud of you. All right. What is an example of a personal budget? The first one was writing down all of your expenses. Well, I'm glad that nobody picked that one because that was truly wrong. Writing down your expenses is not a budget. That's just writing down your expenses. I always say, if you aren't telling your money where to go, it's just going. It's telling you what's happening. You're not in control of it. You have to be in front of it, which is why for my financial coaching clients, we meet before they get their check. So we can say, where's this going? And we budget to the dollar. Where is this money going? Versus you get paid and you just start paying stuff. Then you'd be like, oh, I was supposed to pay that, but I didn't pay that. Now that's due. I don't know how to pay. Instead of just saying, this is what I'm doing with this check. The second one, writing down all of your income and expenses. Sorry, guys, still not the right answers. Why? Because I'm writing it down. So your first homework assignment, you wrote it down. It was the income, it was the expenses, it was what I had left over or what I didn't have left over. But that's not a budget. I just wrote out everything, right? So it's a little bit more than just writing out my expenses, because now I see my income, I see my expenses, and I see what's left. Still not a budget though, because you can stray from that. That's just showing you what it is. But creating a financial plan for a specified time frame that includes your income and expenses, that's a budget. We have a plan for it. We're saying, okay, this is how much I'm bringing in. This is what has to be paid. And this is the different times. We actually chart it out on a calendar. This is when this has to be paid. This is when this has to be paid. This is coming from this check. This is coming from this check. Putting a plan in place. That is very different than just listing it out. So you have to have the action piece to listing it out. Next slide. I gotta move this thing. So now we're going to talk about creating the actual plan. What's the purpose? Why are we doing it? Well, it's because you need to organize debt in a way that allows you to strategize debt repayment. How do I know what to do if I don't, one, first homework assignment, know what I have. 2, know the expenses. 3, know what's left. I have to know what I have to pay off the debt with. 2, I need to know what's on my credit report. What do I need to pay off? What debts do I have? How can a debt reduction plan ease the stress of handling debt? Okay, so we all know that stress and finances, debt, all of that can be emotional and stressful. A lot of people have a burden lifted. One of the partners, she just was so down on our first call. Like I could just feel it. I'm a feelings person. I could just feel it. On that second call, she was full of energy. She was positive. Like it was just different. Why? Because she was addressing some of the issues. She wasn't just letting it be like, oh, I know this is happening. She was tackling it. I have a plan for this. Oh, I did this. Like she was being active with it. And it changed things. And that's what you have to do. You also have to lose this I used to be this way. So I used to have emotions tied to money. So when my account was low, I was like sad and depressed. But when I had money, oh, I was just happy, excited. And then one day I just said, Nicole, why do you have emotions tied to money? Because money is a thing. So this chair I'm sitting in, it's not making me happy or sad. It's a thing. This computer I'm looking at, it's not making me happy or sad because it's a thing. I should have no emotion tied to a thing. Money is paper, and money nowadays is nothing. I don't ever have cash. So it's not even something that I see. So money to me is a tool. You know, somebody asked the other day something about happiness and joy when it came to money. Money is just a tool. I have no emotion around it. However, I appreciate it. I know that I need it to live the kind of life that I want. I know I need a lot of it to live the kind of life that I want, right? So, but I look at it as a tool, and money is currency. So it comes in and it goes out. I'm not a hoarder of it. I know that it has to go out. I know there's things that I have to spend money on, right? I own a business, and when I run payroll, I'm like, woo, but I know in order to get the help that I need, I have to pay for it. I just have to be smart about what I do with my money. But money is a tool. I would recommend you all, and I'm going to say a bad word, but it's a part of the book name, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. That book kind of changed my perspective on finances. And why? Because I was one of those people who always looked at expenses. I'm an accountant, right? And I grew up poor. So I never want to be poor again. So I always looked at expenses. So my ex-husband, he would always like go to the gas station and spend it out. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm getting water. We got water at home. Why are you getting water? Like, you know, so I was just that crazy about everything to a dollar, that crazy. I read the book, and she changes your mind. So she talks about being more focused on income. Because if I am focused on income, I do not have to worry about the expenses because I know they're going to be taken care of because I know I'm making the money. So now when I look at my bank account, I'm looking to make sure nobody got me, nothing was charged twice, that kind of thing. I'm not looking to see, do I have all my stuff is on auto pay because I know the money is there. I don't have to worry about bounce anything. I know I have money in there. I know it. So there is no reason for me to be obsessed with what's coming out. What are these expenses? I don't have to be obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with making more money. If I need something, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, how many more clients do I need? That's it. What do I have to do to get more clients? So you have to shift your focus. Now, I'm not saying don't pay attention to the expenses, but do not meditate and manifest on the expenses. It need to be focused on making money. So that's how we can, we got to get rid of the stress of it. And also go back to therapy, right? Having the conversations, even with your family. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Money used to be such a taboo, especially in our community. Like, you're not going to talk about money. No, we're going to talk about money. I have money talks with my children all the time. When my son graduated from college, we had a money talk. And I said, I have gotten you all the way through college. I've paid for apartments. I've paid for education. The one thing you can never ask me to do is pay your rent ever. Don't ask me. I don't care. If I ask you what you want for your birthday, you cannot say pay my rent. You can say, can I have some money? But you cannot. You know, you have to have these conversations. I believe in tough love, right? You have to have the conversations. And I also believe in discussing finances as a couple and as a family. So as a couple, if you are not working together, you are working against each other, even if it's not intentional. Even if it's not intentional, you don't mean to. If you don't have your set of goals, if your mate does not know what your financial goals are, you don't know what his are, and you have none together, how are you working together? I have to know your goals so I can help you reach them. You have to know mine so you can help, and we have to know what it is together so that we can meet them together. 2 is always better than 1. If I ever get a mate, I'm gonna be rich, because guess what? That's gonna be extra. One of our incomes is extra. It's gonna be towards real estate. It's gonna be towards something, because we should be able to live off of 1. I spoke to my son since 9th grade about, it went away. I have all these messages. Let's see. Since 9th grade about money management, saving money, added him to credit card 15 and never gave it to him, helped me keep it balanced to help his credit. Good. And see, Melanie, I have mixed emotions about that because some people can mess up a child's credit because they aren't even good at managing. They add them to the card and they make a mess, and then the child has messed up credit. The other thing I believe in is some things they have to do for themselves. So I made my kids at 18 get their own cards. The only thing they could put on the cards was gas, and they had to pay it off when the bill came. One time my son came to me, he was working at DTLR. Mom, some Jordans are going to come out. I get paid Friday. No, sir. You cannot put it on that card. They come out Friday, tell them to hold them for you. I don't know what to tell you. You can't put it on that card. That's teaching discipline. But it's also teaching them, my daughter's so excited. She's almost at an 800 score. Why? She did it herself. She did it herself. And she knows, she'll say, oh, Mom, if I do this, this will do this. She's studying that score. You have to teach him. So yes, that's good that you're doing that for him, but you're also going to have to teach him how to build that credit. And think about it. At 18, they really don't need credit. They're in school for 4 years. If they decide to go to school, that's 4 years of building credit. That's more than enough time so that when they graduate 21, 22, they have great credit. Great. He just applied for his own. My 20-year-old works a full-time job and has his own business since 15. Awesome. 20K in the bank. Amazing. That's amazing, Altrice. Amazing. Because we have to teach that next generation, and we have to do what our parents didn't do for us. Like, we have to talk about it, and we have to educate our children, you know, and teach them that balance. And it's very hard in this day and age with social media and name brand things and designers and just how everything is. I'm going to tell you, my son, I've bought him 3 cars over his lifetime. And when he graduated from college, that was the last one. I said, I'm not buying any more cars. This is it for me. So maybe like he's graduated from high school and he's like, I'm from college, and it was a couple of years. And he said, Mom, I want a new car. I said, okay, great. You can get a new car. And then he said, well, what are we? It's not we, it's you. What are you going to do? And then he said, okay, well, I want to get a new car. I said, okay. I said, and you can have whatever you want as long as you pay cash for it. And he said, okay, Mom, I want you to know, and I'm not into name stuff like him, but my son has a Porsche and he paid cash for it. He paid cash for it. And I was just like, wow, he did all the research. He found him a car, found the deal, pay cash. Had it for 1 year. Somebody hit him. And the way this market is right now, he made money off of the car, because right now cars they're not depreciating, they're appreciating, which is so rare, right? Got another one, paid cash for it because he took all the insurance money, had to add to it, got another car. Because these are the things we can do. People now are all into this credit. Why does it have to be credit? Why can you not pay with cash? I mean, it was like a $30,000 portion, but still, save your money and get it, because you can save your money. So it's these kind of things that we have to teach them. We have to teach them. Wealthy families will put a bill in a child's name. Low wealth families will put a bill in a child's name, right? And I have clients now who have messed up credit because of parents. And of course, they don't want to press charges against their parent. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I'm helping them clean it up, because it's like either you're pressing charges or you have to suck it up and own it, you know, but it is bad. But we have to be very vocal with our children, and even just family, period. You know, I've had to have a talk with someone in the accountability group about saying no when people want to borrow money from you. You cannot become an enabler. You can't. And a lot of times people will come to you for their needs, but they spent their money on their wants. And once you start saying no, and they have to be accountable and figure it out, they do. And the other part of that is, who's going to help you? If you give away all your money helping other people, when you need something, what are you going to do? You have to be able to take care of yourself. And some of the stuff is just hard. It's hard to have those conversations with family. Again, another reason why I'm really proud of people in this group, because they've been taking the action. taking action. And a lot of times my clients are so funny. They're like, I just told them my financial coach said no. And I'm like, that's fine. I can be the bad guy. I don't mind. Not at all. Not at all. And tell them to come to me for financial coaching because clearly they need it too. It's that tough conversation you have to have people. Now people don't even come to me and ask me for money because they know it comes with a complete lecture. And then at the end is no. So they don't even come to me anymore. But it was so weird because when my son went to Howard, all of a sudden people started asking me for money. And I'm thinking, and I would say to them, do you know how much Howard University is? No, you can't borrow any money from me. Go look it up. It costs a lot of money. I don't have any money for you. So it was weird to me. I'm like, so they think because it goes to Howard, I have money. That's where the money's going, to Howard, you know? So, but I'm very, and people think, well, I do have money in savings. So if they ask for it, I really can't say I don't have it. Yes, you can, because you don't have it for them. It doesn't matter what's in your bank account. You don't have it for them. And if you owe somebody money, you don't have it for them because you owe somebody money. So that means you have a car note, you owe somebody money. You have a mortgage, you owe somebody some money. You owe people money. So how do you have it to dish out to somebody else for their issues when you haven't finished committing to your obligations? You don't have it. And that's exactly how you have to be, unfortunately. Awesome. Somebody has a son who scores almost over 800. That is amazing. Yes. And they don't believe it. They don't believe that people have their stuff together. That is great. That is amazing. So Melanie said, family members don't ask her. They already know. That's right. They know. Listen, people do not ask me. And even when I have had, like, even when it comes to my family, like one time I had somebody that I knew would pay it back. But that's the other thing. Like if somebody shows you that they're not responsible, then it doesn't make sense for you to join in that. You know, don't join in it. They've already shown it. Why do you have a low credit score? Because you didn't pay your bills on time. So if you don't pay your bills on time, how do I know you're going to pay me back on time? So that's just the way the banks are too. And people get mad like, well, the bank wouldn't give me a loan, but why wouldn't they give you a loan? It has to make sense. So she is over here going in. But yeah, you have to have the conversations. They're hard, but listen, in these accountability meetings, they'll tell you these were some serious conversations about where you are and what you have to do to get out of it. Next slide. All right, so getting out of debt. So one of the items, it was like the third tab on that Excel document that you got, is how you can start the debt reduction. And so it was listing out all of your debts here. So you're listing out the creditor, the balance, interest rate, monthly payment, and it'll calculate for you the percent of the total that is. So this will help you in determining what method you may want to use, right? I just threw some numbers in here. And so when you're listing it out, you have that balance there. So that's helping you with the snowball method. What's my lowest balance? All right. And then you have the interest rate, you're figuring that out. And then that monthly payment, that's important too, because if I have something that's $500 a month at 32%, like I want to get rid of this because although the interest, first of all, that's a very high interest rate. It's only 5% of my balance, my overall balance. However, I'm paying $500 a month for that $9,000 that I borrowed. And you know that the interest is a lot on that. So right here, budget amount. So we have $2,500 for repayment. We have a total of $75,000 in debt. Our average interest rate is 19%, some higher, some lower. Average monthly interest that we're paying is $1,245 in interest every single month. So if we have $2,500 for repayment and we're paying $1,000, I mean, we're paying, how much are we paying? $1,500. That gives us $1,000 extra left that we can use to decide where we're going to put it. So this bottom totals and summary on your sheet, that's calculated for you based on the information at the top. Next slide. Then we have, oh, that's more of that second one. It's listing it out. Pick your debt to pay. Either pay off the debt with the highest interest first So that's our avalanche, or lowest balance first. That's our snowball. So it's going to tell you exactly what you can do. We have that extra $1,000. So now our monthly payment is going to be $1,100 instead of $100. So this sheet that you have is actually going to help assist you with figuring out what's the best way for you. Some people had questions about it, but I kind of put you off to now so that you can know, because it was leading up into this. So for your homework, you are going to list out your debts and kind of figure out what you want your plan to be for debt payoff. We know how much we have from the other sheet. We know what we have extra. And don't get discouraged if right away you don't have a lot for debt repayment. You're going to keep working at decreasing those expenses so that you can increase your debt reduction. Next slide. Are there any questions on that document? Yeah, Janice, no, my self-care money is not for other people. It is for me. So I don't think it's any questions on that. All right, poll number 2. If you experience a decrease in income, what should you do? Choose all that apply. So give you a little minute to answer that. Doing good on time here, because I could talk all night about this. All right, let's see what we're gonna do. Did everybody get their poll number question in? All right, let's see. All right. All right, now who said keep the same budget no matter what? We're gonna have a one-on-one. Think about it. If you have a decrease in income, meaning layoff, fired, sick, anything, you can't keep that budget the same. If I have less income, same expenses, I have a negative situation going on. So I have to do something different immediately. I've been laid off from a job before. My ex-husband was laid off from a job before. We had a family meeting. All right, guys, it's less money. This is what happened, because we're very honest about everything that's going on. This is what happened. This is where we are. We got to make some changes immediately. Immediately, whether it was cutting off cable, because back then everybody had cable, whatever it was happening immediately. Because if we don't do it immediately, we're already starting in the red immediately. So adjust your budget to decrease expenses immediately, for sure. You have to. The income has decreased. Have discussion with your household about the changes needed. You have to. You have to have that conversation so that they're not in shock about what's going on. They have to know what's going on. And so when you're making the changes, they understand, okay, this for a moment in time, we have to do this. Is it a good practice to reevaluate your budget at least once a year? You need to reevaluate that budget every quarter. Every quarter, every month, you need to be looking at it. Every quarter, it needs to be like, okay, what changes maybe we need to make? Because if you're waiting till the end of the year, you can't make adjustments during the year when you need to. So you need to at least do it quarterly. Yes. Yep. And you're tracking to it every single month, every single pay. So that quarterly adjustment is just like, okay, what things can change? What debt have I paid off that now we have extra money to put in savings? Those kind of things. Tashia does a new budget every month. That's because every month things change. Things change. Next slide, please. Learn how to create a savings plan. So one of the questions people ask is, should I be saving, using all the money for debt? Again, I don't have I say it depends. It really depends on what you have going on. Now, they always say, like, for instance, Dave Ramsey is serious about that emergency fund, right? Having the money in the emergency fund for if anything happens. Some people decide, you know what? I have a credit card that has nothing on it. So if something happens, I can kind of leverage that. I want to use all my extra funds to get rid of this debt. That's definitely another way you can do it. If you don't have any cash and you don't have credit, you are in a situation. I always say, Cash is king and credit is queen. So if you don't have either one of those, it's a situation. You have to have some spare backup something somewhere. If a tire, you need a new tire or something happens, you have to be able to have something, right? So in your budget, there should be a line item for savings. There are some people that just can't afford to save. I understand that. So it's about decreasing those expenses so that you can have some money to put aside. You want to have money transfer automatically. I don't even think about it. The money that goes to savings or to my investment account or retirement account, I don't even think about it. It just goes. You forget that it's even happening. You also want to have the savings at a financial institution that's not connected to your main checking account. So you can't just be transferring or pull over. And you don't want it easily accessible. There's some accounts that I don't even have cards to, that I just can't get to it easily. I have an account at Navy Federal. We don't have a Navy Federal here. The closest one is in Columbia. So it has to be where you just can't get to it as easy when you want to make those purchases, like go buy something you shouldn't be buying. Now, if I need to get to it because I have a situation going on, within 24 hours, I can get the money. But if it's something emotional, like buying a dress, within 24 hours, I've forgotten about the dress and moved on. All right. Next slide. The best way to save is automatically. Set up direct deposits to go directly into savings account, not leak to your checking account. Start small. Even if you have to, every pay period, put $10 in there. Start somewhere. Maybe you truly don't have the ability to save now. No shame. Those who can, do it. The pandemic, man, a reminder, you need an emergency fund. The pandemic was scary for a lot of people. A lot of people. It took forever for unemployment to kick in for people. Forever. Like it was rough. And those kind of things make you realize I can't be dependent on someone else. I have to have this figured out for me and my family. Next slide. Economic security. Condition of having a stable source of financial income that allows for the ongoing maintenance of one's standard of living currently and in the near future. And the one thing I learned after being laid off one time from Bank of America was I didn't want anyone in control of my financial future but me. When they cut that, like when you're gone and it's over, then you really have to start thinking like, what am I going to do? So even though I went back to corporate America after that layoff, I also started my business because I knew I had to have something else in case that didn't work out. I had something else to fall back on. You have to think about that. And really, people think, a lot of times people say, well, a job is security. It's what makes it secure? Because at any time they can let you go. So what makes it secure? Next slide. Ways to achieve economic security. Having a substantial savings account. And it may take time to get that. That's fine. Multiple streams of income. Now there's so many things. The gig economy, you can do Uber, Lyft, Instacart. Like there's so many things you could do. And starting a business. I mean, during COVID, so many people started businesses. Usually when I would, get LLCs for a client, it'd take a day or two. It was taking weeks to get an LLC created in North Carolina. Weeks. I was like, wait, this is crazy. Everybody was starting a business. And that is another way. You have a talent, passion, skill, use it to make money. Tashia has 7 different accounts. The main 4 accounts are for operating, short-term savings, long-term, vacations, birthdays, holidays. Yep. It's separating it out. So you know what each account is for. That's smart. We want to invest. Now, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. I do have an account that I just play with, kind of. And actually, Candace Johnson, I don't know if she's on the call, but she's the one who basically made me start investing again. Years ago when I worked at Bank of America, I had bought Facebook and I can't remember what the other one was. It might have been Bank of America. Stop. And as soon as I started losing money, I sold it. Now imagine if I had kept it, especially Facebook. And so now I have someone who invests for me at Edward Jones, and then I have one I just play with. And Candace taught me, when you just buy stock, that you use the products. So I decided to buy Target stock. My Target stock is doing so good. And now it's funny. Now I really only shop at Target. I don't really go to Walmart anymore because I feel like since I'm invested in Target, I have to spend there because that's helping my investment. So I'm shopping at Target versus Walmart now because I'm investing in it. Rental properties. So it just depends on what your strategy is. They want to know how many of you all would like to know more about investments, for sure. And one of our meetings, Sal from Edward Jones, that's my guy, he will be on. If you have questions about investments, he can talk to you about that. But I let him manage an account because he really knows what he's doing. And then we meet once a quarter, twice a year, and go over it. But he'll say, I was thinking about this strategy. I'm like, yes, you know what you're doing. Oh, and this is a good one. And this is one of our sessions coming up. The importance of life insurance. It's so important for a couple of different reasons. One thing we know for sure, every single one of us is going to die. Every single one of us is going to die. We don't know when, but why can't we prepare for it? I have clients who say, I have to take money out of my 401k because my parent died and they didn't have any money. I don't even know if I should say what I say. It costs $5,000 at least just to cremate a person. And a lot of times they'll say, but that wasn't their wishes. Okay, well, when they did not have any money to pay for a funeral, their wishes kind of went out the door. It's an expense. It's so expensive. It's so expensive. You need to make sure you have life insurance. And that's what helps create generational wealth. So when I die, my children become millionaires. I get so excited about that. I know that probably sounds crazy, but I get excited that something that's going to happen is going to happen. I cannot change that it's going to happen. But when it does, I have the ability to make them millionaires. That is so exciting to me. It's so exciting to me. And it's something that we have to think about. Mine are older now, 20 and 29, right? But there are some people who are leaving children that are young. And when they're young, they have to be taken care of. Like, who is going to take care of them? You have to think about those things. And a lot of people don't want to think about death, but I think COVID really made us really think about it. Really think about it. So if you don't have life insurance and life insurance outside of your job as well, because guess what? When you leave that job or they ask you to leave that job, your insurance does not go with you. And if that happens when you're 50 or 60 years old, guess what? Your insurance goes up because you're older. The older we get, we usually start having health problems. That insurance goes up. Now it's more expensive. So even if you have a great life insurance policy at work, get another policy. They'll be on talking about life insurance as well. That's why this Sister-Nomic is so important and it's so beneficial, because it's all these elements of finances that you have to make sure are solid and in place. It's so important. Life insurance. And it's not as expensive as you think. It really isn't. And the younger you get it, you even have to have it on your children. Get life insurance on your children. If they're young, whole life. But we'll talk about that during life insurance. Next. Yes, a good man or woman leaves an inheritance for his children, his children's children. Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm excited about it. And then I teach them, because I do not want them wasting my money and wasting all this time, effort, energy, tears, blood, sweat, just wasting it. So you have to teach them what to do with it. Poll question number 3. How financially prepared are you for a loss of income? Very prepared, 6 months to at least 1 year of expenses saved. Somewhat prepared, 3 to 6 months. Not prepared at all, no savings. Okay. We have some very prepared, 14%. We have 66% that are somewhat prepared. And then we have 21% are not prepared at all. Again, no judgment. So the people that are not prepared at all, you're going to put a savings plan in place. Even if you're starting with $10, you're going to put something in place, and then you're going to keep attacking those expenses and reducing those expenses so that you can, build a savings. The people that are somewhat prepared, go back through your expenses, figure this out, get more prepared. And then, and think about it too, like if something were to happen and I can't work, if something were to happen and I lose my income, what are we going to do? How are we going to live? Really, if you're married or live with a mate or have a mate, then you want to see, can we live off of one income? Could we really live off of one income? And if we can't, what can we do to get it to where we can? And the people that are very prepared, keep on, keep saving, keep investing. Next slide. All right. Short-term goals are less than a year. Long-term goals greater than a year. That goes back to the first homework assignment where you had the questionnaire. And one of the things were pick 3 short-term goals and 3 long-term goals. That's important. So, what am I trying to achieve? You need to know that. If you have a mate, spouse, you want to know, what are our goals together? What are your goals individually? It's important. New strategies toward long-term economic empowerment. Earning more money, reaching the fullest earning potential. We talked about that. What different ways are there to make more money? I can attain more education. Now, we don't want to do that at a cost, really, right? We want to leverage tuition reimbursement. Is there scholarships out there? Are there grants out there? Community colleges, what do they have going on? Our goal is not to have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars it is disheartening when people have spent all this money on education and degrees and cannot make that, as much as they spent, they cannot make that in a salary. It's sad. Learning a new skill set, different programs out there where you can learn new skill sets, see what your job has to offer and take advantage of that. Continuing education classes, community colleges, and explore opportunities for promotion, new positions, negotiating skills. You do not have to stay at a job where you're underemployed. Just really seeing, and right now everybody's hiring. A lot of people don't want to go back into the office. They do not want to go back into the office. So that gives opportunity for other people to get jobs. But it's opportunities out there. And then being a part of organizations like this, who do you know, who knows, who you know, who know? That works. It really works. I always tell people, like, you might have help getting into the door. Now, your skills, your everything, you have to bring your A game to stay in the position. But sometimes it is about who you know in relationships that can get you a job. Sherelle said gas is too high to go into the office. I know that's right. Listen, this gas is ridiculous. But it's something that we have to think about, right? What if it never changed? What if this is where gas stayed? Of course, we hope that does not happen. But what if it was? This will be our new norm of life. I remember when people might remember it was less, but I remember when gas was like 99 cents. I'm only 45. But look where gas is now. So who's to say that it can't stay here? What will we do? We couldn't cry about it. I'm still going to drive my car. So Malika is trading her car in. What you going to do? Walk? You can't walk in Charlotte. Oh, you might just get a cheaper car. Something cheaper. Okay. Well, I want you to do that anyway. But yeah, so there's different opportunities out there and you just have to be open to them. I will say starting my business was one of the best things that I could have ever done, but I did not want to be a struggling entrepreneur. So I did not quit my job until I had a job, until my business was able to sustain me and I could have a salary for my business, because I was already at a certain level of life and I wasn't willing to struggle. And I'm telling you, when you grow up poor, you remember that. I remember, and I'm never going back there. So it was important for me. I couldn't just quit and do what I wanted to do. I had to build it. And so there is nothing wrong with building a business while you are working a 9 to 5. I will say I had to give up a lot of my personal life because it's time consuming. So with everything comes sacrifices. So you just have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice and make those sacrifices. But my entire family at this point almost has businesses. And so it's just important for me that everybody experience freedom. I have this level of freedom that I've never experienced before in my life, and I love it. Although I work a lot, I also have the ability to work from anywhere, and I have the ability to just live and make decisions based on what I want to do versus what I have to do because I have no choice. Like sometimes you have no choice. So even though you hate your job, you can't just leave because you have bills to pay, but when you get freedom, you can make choices. I'm not staying here because I'm not valued. I'm going to find another job. I never left a job without having another job because I had bills to pay. But I've always been able to find a job. That was never a problem for me. My family used to think I was crazy because I stayed at no job more than 3 years. I was in different roles at Bank of America, 3 or 4 different roles at Bank of America. But what I learned was my first job at Bank of America was in compensation. So I learned how to play this game. And I knew to really make real money, I had to leave and come back. So I did that 3 times to come back making significantly more, because if I stayed, I knew I'd get 2% raise, 3% raise. That's not what I wanted. So I always left on good terms, and I always came back to another group, and I always made at least $15,000 to $20,000 more. I just learned how to play the game. That's a lot of things, from credit to career, all this stuff is learning how to play the game and then play it well. That's it. So what questions do we have? Do we have any questions? I am at the end.
All right. We don't have any questions right now. You've answered them as you went. So we don't have any questions right now. Does anyone else have something to add? They want to raise their hand. I don't think so.
This is Bella. Real quick, I saw something in the chat from Deidre mentioning policy, and another shameless plug. This is a great way to segment into what we have coming in. I feel like it's at the end of April, UK Sis Symposium. We will be talking about a lot of policies that impact Black women and girls. And this topic about pay equity is one. So great plug for me, Deidre, to share. But just stay tuned for that. If you are interested in that, please look to our website for more information for our symposium in April.
Crystal asked about the fireball method. So fireball is hybrid, where you can do a portion of the snowball and a portion of the avalanche by looking at your list and kind of deciding, well, this one does have lower interest and I'm paying off the high interest first, but it's $500, so I could just knock it out. So it's deciding to do a hybrid of both of them.
All righty. So many amazing kudos for you, Miss Mary Nicole Douglas, that are coming into the chat.
Thank you all. I love doing this. I love it. And I love the organization.
We thank you so much. This is amazing. I've been over here snapping my fingers. I'm just like, I was like, ooh, have all my kids on this call, male and female, my sons and my daughters. But thank you so much, Mary Nicole Douglas, for this phenomenal presentation. Who is ready to put these lessons into use? Let's just see the hands. I know I learned some things too. I'm really looking forward to this avalanche method and The interest cancellation, ooh, yes, I'm excited about that. So thank you so much. The hands are going up. People are doing the party sign. So this was absolutely great. So now it's time to put a little bit more funds in your pocket for today's raffle of a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. So my sister Janice, who is also an Economic Empowerment Committee member, will be completing this drawing. Over to you, Janice.
Thank you, Tashia. Good evening, ladies. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I have written down all the names of the ladies who have attended today and is currently present. So out of fairness, I am going to shuffle the names and then I'm going to do a full screen and spin the wheel.
Big money, big money.
Okay. Congratulations to Glenda Strong. Glenda, if you can do me a favor, go ahead and email me your email address, send it to me in the chat, and we'll go ahead and ensure that you have your $25 gift card. And remember, to all who participated in today's drawing, remember, if you did not get a chance to win today's raffle, you will have another opportunity at our next drawing at our next program. Back to you, Tashia.
All right, thank you, Janice. And congratulations, Glenda. All right, so thank you for all who participated in today's raffle. If you didn't win, like she said, you'll get another chance coming up soon. And thank you for our speaker and our accountability coach, again, to Miss Mary Nicole Douglas, our Economic Empowerment Committee, and our sponsors, MND Accounting and Wells Fargo Bank, for this evening's program. After this evening's program, you will receive a brief survey. Please just take a few minutes to complete it. Let us know your thoughts and your feedback about it. It's greatly appreciated. And don't forget to sign up for our final program and our graduation on Wednesday, March 30th. Thank you again, and we look so forward for you to joining us next week.
Tashia, before you hang up, Tashia, we have someone that would like to get the recording.
Okay.